July 6, 2013 was the last day I spoke to my brother, Deion Fludds, before he passed. It was a good day for us that were there as well, because Deion showed signs of improvement. He was out of ICU, and once I arrived, he showed us that he can lift his right arm a little. It took a lot of energy, but Deion was determined to will himself back to full health. That made us all hopeful. More so because our mom told me that a doctor in charge of his file said he was showing signs of health that could last 10 to 15 years. As if it was ordained by God, Deion and I found ourselves alone in his hospital room. I was talking about everything else except the incident, but once he caught my eye, he whispered, "I didn't get hit by no train." So I asked, "Do you remember?" He shook his head yes, and began telling me that he ran from the cops to avoid getting arrested and jumped into the tracks after breaking off an officer. For the second time during his stay at Kings County Hospital, he confirmed that he knew what he was doing, jumping onto the tracks, nodding yes when I asked if he's done it before. Deion said he looked back while he was running and saw a cop chasing him with a flashlight, plus the C train that was stopped at the station. Deion said he made it to the Ralph Avenue station, where he was met by two other officers on that platform. He then said a hard hit to the back of his head knocked him down. Then he felt them, what appeared to be stomping on his legs and back, until he felt something pop. He said he tried to scream but couldn't. Then another hard blow to the back of his head knocked him out. He concluded by saying he woke up briefly through his days in and out. He noticed the cops carried him to the tracks and left him there. Now, take a good look at these photos of Deion after the incident. Does this look like someone who survived a speeding A train hitting him, or more like someone surviving being jumped by a gang? Deion's injuries were an acute depressed open skull fracture to the back of his head, 2 spinal fractures, and bruising. I repeat, just bruising across his upper back, buttocks, right shoulder, hip, calf, and knee. If you ask me, a speeding A train would have broke all those bones that they reported were just bruised. Also, the bruising should have been more to the left of his body because, well, let's poke these holes. Let's start with the 4 rookie cops who I guess was led by Officer Daniel Badillo and supervised by Sergeant Samuel Negron. The 4 rookies at the time were at Rockaway Ave C-Train Station hunting. That's right, I said hunting, for fare beaters to arrest because they were under pressure by their sergeant to make more arrests to avoid further checkpoint duty, which Al Jazeera America reported that the 4 officers were on most of that year. So, with that pressure on their backs, it pushed them to turn what should have been a ticket into a full-blown night in the bookings because of their personal motivations. Deion and Haisha pleaded their case of her just keeping him company until the train came, but the cops couldn't hear through their selfish ambition created by what I call ill-advised pressure. The rookies' pressure to make arrests mixed with Deion's pressure of not violating probation busted a major pipe. Quick message to the police departments of the USA. If you tell the new classes of cops that it's an honor just to be an officer, then every position on the force, from the checkpointers to detectives, should be made to feel just as important as the next. Adding more pressure to an already high pressure situation can't be good for an officer's mental health at all, which is why cases like Deion's happen so often. Now, let's deal with the chase. 3 cops chased Deion up the northbound or Manhattan, Bronx-bound side of the station after he resisted arrest. One of the cops stayed with Haysha, and after Deion jumped into the tracks, that same officer stopped an incoming local train. Haysha, Deion, and DNA info all confirmed that a train was stopped from coming into the station at Rockaway Avenue. The other 3 officers who chased Deion stopped at the end of the platform, flashing their lights down the tunnel, shouting at Deion, reported by Al Jazeera America. What's unclear to me at the time of this video is whether one of the cops actually chased Deion down the tunnel, because Al Jazeera America reports that the 3 cops in pursuit met back up with the 4th, who detained Haysha on the platform. Then they all escorted her to the precinct. But if I remember what Haysha told me right, she was taken away shortly after the train was stopped by only 2 of the officers after asking them what happened to Deion. Haysha also did not see or hear any other trains after the cops stopped the first. With that said, my logic leans more to my brother's side of seeing a cop chasing him with a flashlight in hand in the tunnel. Why? Because with the incoming train effectively stopped, why wouldn't a young hunter of arrest not jump on those tracks in pursuit of avoiding more checkpoint duty for the year? I believe that rookie officer was Daniel Badillo, because backup was called to his location after the incident, which was not Rockaway Avenue but Ralph Avenue, a whole station away. Here's where I say legendary actor Bill Duke's famous line, "You know you done fucked up, right?" Al Jazeera America reported that the NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau interviewed Richard Mascal, the A-train operator who said his train hit Deion as Deion crossed the track from right to left. This is exactly why I asked my brother upon waking up out of his coma and the last conversation we had if he knew what he was doing. Follow me. First of all, anyone can hear a train coming before it arrives at a station. My brother Deion definitely had enough common sense to not try and beat a speeding train, especially when there's another express track further left of the train that allegedly hit Deion. My second point is Mr. Mascal didn't stop his train after supposedly hitting Deion. Surely there's an MTA protocol that stops whatever train involved in an incident. My third and most profound point here deals with the mathematical formula of force. Force is the sum of mass or weight multiplied by acceleration or speed. The officers and Mr. Mascal, the train operator, say Deion was specifically hit by an A express train. An A express train between Rockaway and Ralph Avenue stations. Any true Brooklynite knows that the A train zooms from Broadway Junction to Utica Avenue at high speeds. So Deion should have been hit when the train was at mid-stride between those stops. Since no one reports how fast the train was going, I'll give them the benefit of doubt and chop down how fast the train was traveling. Here's the math. New York City trains weigh in at 85,000 pounds and max speed at 55 miles per hour. Let's say the train was moving at 20 miles per hour. Using Newton's law of force, even if we break the pounds down to kilograms and miles per hour to meters per second, multiplying those numbers would create millions of pounds of force hitting Deion's 5'9", 160-pound frame. My brother would have split wide open from that impact. He wouldn't have suffered just a fractured skull and a broke spine, along with bruising to a side of his body that the train didn't hit, allegedly. Deion would have been dead that night for sure. My mission with this video is to call out NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau to reopen Deion's case, which they only investigated for 2 days without asking Deion or his family a question about the incident, and for giving the officers involved only warnings for what happened. Also, for the IAB and Brooklyn's DA, Eric Gonzalez, to bring up criminal charges against the officers Daniel Badillo, Randy Paul Saint, and Christopher Spicer, who I believe were the 3 cops who murdered, that's right, murdered Deion. I'm no attorney, but I would like to remind Mr. Gonzalez that there are no statute of limitations on murder and that Deion died from those injuries. At the least, none of the officers involved should be wearing a badge or collecting a pension. This is strictly about justice for me. If the roles were reversed, Deion would be doing life in prison. Deion didn't deserve what happened to him, and damn sure didn't deserve to be swept under the rug like so many of our melanated sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers struck down falsely by those sworn to protect us. The madness may not end, but implementation of righteous justice for urban people can begin. I want to thank DNAinfo.com and AlJazeeraAmerica.com for covering Deion Story. I want to thank Gail Rich for providing some photos, and big thanks to my mom for giving me her blessing on putting this presentation together. Thanks to everyone who knew and loved Deion for sharing the material I post. You guys are helping the message get heard. Hopefully, this brings about change and get these guys fired or in prison. Forever Deion.